All hail Queen Victoria. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. If you love freedom, then this weekend, this long weekend, all freedom-loving Canadians should be saluting Queen Victoria. Now, it might sound odd to say that freedom lovers should salute a queen. And if you know my background, it's doubly odd that I would say salute Queen Victoria. I'm the son of Scottish immigrants whose family roots eventually go back to Ireland. This probably doesn't make sense on a whole lot of levels. But the fact is, when it comes to freedom in Canada, we owe an awful lot to Queen Victoria. She was just 18 years old when she ascended to the throne of the largest empire the world had ever known. It was the 20th of June, 1837. And within months, rebellions had taken shape in Lower and Upper Canada. The rebellion in Lower Canada, what we now call Quebec, started on November 6th of that year. It lasted a full 12 months. The rebellion in Upper Canada, what we now call Ontario, well, it lasted for just a few days in early December 1837. It was effectively ended with the Battle of Montgomery's Tavern on December the 7th, 1837. These two rebellions were vastly different. I've long read the Upper Canada Rebellion as being somewhat of an early socialist type uprising. The Lower Canada Rebellion was more of a classic attempt at a Republican revolution in the American tradition. And despite claims by separatists now, it wasn't about supporting the French or pushing French. Many of the leaders were English and Irish. But the result of these rebellions was the same. The young queen, Queen Victoria, eager not to lose the colonies in Canada completely, called on Lord Durham to travel to the region, hear out the grievances, and report back. So what did we get in return? Responsible government. The first steps for the colonies of British North America to govern themselves, and the first steps toward what would become Confederation and the Dominion of Canada. Imagine for a moment what the world would look like today if, instead of dismissing the concerns of the American colonists, George III had listened to them and granted them the rights and liberties that the colonists felt entitled to as free men. The American Revolution likely never would have happened, at least not at that point, and the world would look very different today. Queen Victoria learned the lesson that her grandfather never did, that keeping people down was not a good long-term strategy. Now, some folks are going to hear what I say and scoff. They're going to say, oh, this is just revisionist view of colonialism. Perhaps. But I'm not a natural monarchist. I'm not a colonialist. I'm a reluctant monarchist. But given the choice between living in any of the countries that were part of the competing empires of the era, the British, the French, the German, the Belgian empires, anyone looking objectively would say that the countries that were ruled by Britain have, for the most part, ended up better off than the others. And it's due to those ideals of individual liberty, of freedom, that were the embodiment of the Victorian era. Now, I'll admit not everything was perfect, but it was far better than the alternative. And Victoria helped, well, usher in the era that led to Confederation. In fact, it happened under her watch. So this long weekend, don't just scoff at the day. Don't just call it the May 2-4. Instead, honor the woman the holiday's named for, Queen Victoria. Long may her legacy last, especially in Canada, the greatest country on earth. If you like the Rebel video you just watched, make sure you never miss another one again. Click here to subscribe, and if you've already subscribed to our main channel, make sure you subscribe to Rebel Canada, a new exciting channel just devoted to the news of the Old Dominion.